you, you're always on my mind. I do the things that I should do, so I can't forget, but you're always on my mind. Thought you'd be gone by tomorrow, but you're still there tomorrow, and the next day, the next day. I wish I wouldn't remember how you make me feel better in the best ways, the best ways. I know why we say goodbye, but can we turn that bye into hello? I know how to love you now. No matter what I do, I can't let go. I don't know how to forget you. I can't forget you. You're always on my mind. I do the things that I should do, so I can't forget, but you're always on my mind. Thought you'd be gone by tomorrow, but you're still there tomorrow, and the next day, the next day. I wish I wouldn't remember how you make me feel better in the best ways, the best ways. Take it away, feeling too good to me. Chilling all day, all in your space is where I wanna be. Here in this room, what did you do? I just can't get enough. Too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you. Yeah, you always make me feel like home. Yeah, you never leave my thoughts alone. Yeah, you're the reason I'm going out of my mind. I just can't stop thinking about you. All that I crave when you're away, nights are sleepless. Do we need space? Yeah, maybe a break. Boy, you're my weakness. Give and we take, the love that we make, it's my favorite drug. Too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you. Yeah, you always make me feel like home. Yeah, you never leave my thoughts alone. Yeah, you're the reason I'm going out of my mind. I just can't stop thinking about you. You got me feeling some type of way. You make me wanna stay in all day. You're the reason I can't get out my head. I just can't stop thinking about you. 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 I just can't stop thinking about you.
Head underwater, falling back into you. I thought we'd be smarter, I got nothing left to lose. You said you fall with me, no matter how far it goes. Down deep and under, we're stuck in this pattern, but I need you close. All I ever wanted was for you to prove me wrong. You're changing our colors again and again. Not sure I really care. We're all of our demons, and they never disappear. I will forgive you if you're forgiven me. We're stuck in this pattern, but I need you close. All I ever wanted was for you to prove me wrong. You're changing our colors again and again. I could never let you go. Something about you feels so different, makes me wanna risk it every time I look at you. You pull me back into your river, swim a little deeper. I don't need to breathe with my head underwater.
You make me nervous. In the corner of my best friend's sofa, you were getting buzzed on rum and cola. Wasn't brave enough yet just to talk to you. Not a smooth talker under pressure. Sweaty palms ain't making it much better. Something about you feels so special. Pretty other from the minute that I met you.
my mind. Not a smooth talker under pressure. Sweaty palms ain't making it much better. Something about you feels so special. Pretty over from the minute that I met you.
Kia ora e te whānau. Welcome to this, the final match of our stream coverage for the first day of the Division 2 2025 Ultimate Championships in beautiful Otautahi, Christchurch at Bob Dean's Field. So last game of the day for us, we have Brisbanites on your screen at the moment from Australia playing out of the green kit, facing off against WaF. Wet as Frisbee, I would have to assume, but it is nice and sunny today, so it won't be so wet after all. The only thing dry right now is my commentary. My name is Blair Monroe and I'm joined in the booth
by Rachel Siahani Royal.
What a fantastic opportunity. It's been so fantastic having you and Kelsey here in the booth throughout the course of our day. We've been getting our ULTI.TV family working hard to bring you coverage of the very best sport in the world, but also right here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Arguably the best country in the world.
Best country in New Zealand.
the North Island is the best country. No, I can't even commit to that. Who am I kidding?
On this soil as well.
I know. I couldn't even finish the sentence. So we've got Brisbanites to come out on offense. We're seeing an initial zone defense, putting the pressure on by WaF. But Brisbanites able to swing nice and wide, trying to tire out the zone early on.
So we have WaF coming out of Nelson, so they are a team that's quite used to playing on the beach in the windy conditions, so we'll see how that translates here. They have a few pickups as well from Christchurch to boost their numbers, but even so, they're quite a skinny roster here from Nelson.
Avila had the disc there, but it looks like we're going to have a stoppage, possibly some contact there. Now, to the best of my knowledge, WaF is going to stand for Whakatu and Friends, so describing the region from which they came, and also the fact that, as Rachel mentioned, they've pulled together a few players from elsewhere in the country to field a team for the Open Division, which is absolutely fantastic to see. We've seen Whakatu Ultimate field teams for our mixed tournament, and also we had a game earlier from them, their team Fresh Hops, facing off against the Dragon Ladies from Wellington. Jack Lilwall with the disc now. Push pass through to Kirby.
So we have some really open players available for the swing. WaF is prioritizing. Ooh, and that was a turn. So good box out there by the Whakatu player. But we had them. Yeah, they were trying to push the disc backwards, and it's worked. So we have match again from Brisbanites. Joe Panay with the disc now. Going to be drawing a lot of their on-field leadership from him.
Looking back, finding.
Oh, and it's a turn.
Yeah.
So Brisbanites getting another bite at this. We'll see the WaF zone set up again. So they have one person on the mark, 3 in a wall, and they're trying to basically trap it on this low sideline. So the prevailing wind is from the far side of the field to the close side of the field, and Brisbanites working hard to break around that mark by number 25.
Lilwall doing a lot of work, just providing a lot of security and confidence in that handle space for the Brisbanites. So even though we are seeing that zone put, big blustery gust is going to carry it out of bounds on a less than perfectly precise reset. So Whakatu and Friends with a great opportunity. Where the disc went out, they're going to bring it in from the very front corner of the zone. Now, Brisbanites fresh off a game, so their blood is going to be running hot. They're working hard. There's a lot of ability on this team as well. We were watching them warm up, and we've seen snippets of them playing throughout the day.
Yes, so we had Brisbanites make it to Universe in their most previous game. So we have Panay coming in with the disc now. Nelson leaving a lot of space at that front cone for people to cut into, so quite disciplined in that manner.
Losing a few yards on the reset. Big fake towards that near sideline. Chipping through, finds Panaya again. Can they put it away? They're in a good position. For the score in this game to 13 is 1-0.
McEwen managing to keep his feet in the end zone there for that score for WaF. So it's been gusty all day, but I think it's honestly picking up even more now. It's kind of late day breeze is really kicking in, and it's going to have a big effect on this game, I imagine.
It really is. I mean, even a mild wind at the best of times can absolutely, it can be like dropping sand into a clockwork mechanism. It's a fine detail, but it creates a huge amount of pressure and a great barrier to success for even the most well-drilled and precise teams. Now, wind of this magnitude, it's gusting. There's a lot of crosswind as opposed to upwind, downwind, so we don't just see lots of long shots and scores answered back-to-back. It's blustery, it's gusty, there's a lot going on. Tawhiri Matia having a bit of a tantrum today on this wonderful Saturday. And so, I mean, we've seen already the magnitude of that wind. As the disc goes nice and high, the wind gets even faster. You can get a lot of disc movement. It can be a lot harder to control. Now, Whakatu were able to capitalize on that for that point just there. But by the same token, they're only a couple of small errors away from giving back that point to the Brisbanites in the same fashion.
I imagine WaF is pretty excited that their zone seems to be working, and it's efficient as well. They've gotten some quick turns, you know, so kind of second or third throw from Brisbanites. So maybe they might be looking to throw that again at this point, even going the other direction.
Certainly looks like they are.
They've left a hole in the middle there, so maybe they need to work on their structure.
Just a couple of things left to tighten up. But that zone working back and forth across the field. Now they're open. Brisbanites on a little bit of a run. Some quick give goes, but not able to. A little bit less haste, a little bit more speed. Might have seen them walk away with the point there.
Yeah, I think WaF got away with that one there. They left them open, and just off the hands of the WaF player, but the WaF had the wings of that zone bite way too far forward, and it left them open in the middle. So unfortunately, just popped off the hand of a 55 there.
I mean, I think the key thing, Rachel, is the fact that it's still early days, and so there's an opportunity for them to be able to learn from that, to recognize, hey, here's how our zone got broken. What kind of adjustments do we want to make? The thing that I love most about this is seeing how the tactics develop over the course of the game. Big shot going up, looking for Sanders.
Sanders had eyes on that all day.
Goes to find Reeves, goes back to Sanders.
Sanders with the classic walking cut. And
Puts
back
up
to Panaya.
Beautifully fielded by Joe Panaya. Mr. Consistent himself here, putting a second point on the board for Whakatu and friends. WaF up by 2. Keimua Ma Te Rua over Brisbanites from Australia.
Nice to see Panaya making sure he got his body under that disc, not letting it, so in case it did go through his hands, he has the backing of his body to help with the catch.
Now, that's something that we've seen, not really as a theme, but I know it's been raised as a point in a couple of our previous games, just that additional security when we're catching. It's one of those interesting things for those folks at home. Even which hand is on top during the catching motion. That top arm is going to almost provide a little bit of a backstop, and so you will sometimes see players practicing catching on both sides of the body to make sure that they're giving themselves as much of a chance. It's happened to me in game situations early on in my career, and even relatively recently, having the wrong hand on top, and you just have a nice open window for the disc to go straight through. And as your hands clap together empty as the disc is already gone, it's almost like you're applauding your own mistakes.
I find that if I think about the catch too much, it's a bad idea.
And that's why I'm not wearing cleats anymore, Rachel. I spend my days here sitting on the sideline watching the display of the very, very best ultimate in our division.
So we have another pull. That one was rolling out similarly to the first pull of this tournament. So it looks like WaF is looking to send the pull to the low side pretty consistently. Another zone, but again, this middle of the wall is being broken through. So you see, you want to be able, you need certain spots of your zone to be secure, and you want the other team to be throwing around it, not through it. So hopefully, WaF are going to work on keeping that wall intact and having the mark and the wall be moving together rather than getting torn apart.
I'm loving these Brisbanite fakes as well, getting enough of a response out of the defense to open up those holes, which is fantastic. Pushing towards the far sideline now. We've got Jack Kirby with the disc, a high release flick, and it's going to be intercepted.
Level with the D there. Was hanging back a little bit to tempt the throw and was able to get a good block on that. Level to start back with Panaya and the handler set now. Levels, ooh, and there's a pick call. contact.
So for those folks at home, great pointing out there that it's the players making the signals for when there's a violation or a, I guess, stoppage of any kind. In this case, a pick. Unlike in other sports such as basketball, where players can use their body to set screens to help out their offense, in Ultimate, we're going to see a turnover there. A great undercut, but not going to be able to execute.
McEwen's been all over this disc, so I imagine he's going to get another chance at the disc, because working up in the hard in that wall, pushing that disc over.
Just over the top of the leaping Brisbanite. Not going to be able to pull that one down. Panaya to pick up and initiate for WaF, coming back the other way.
We've experienced in this corner of the field pretty much consistently all day that disc is just going to fly. You know, it's been a hard corner to score in, and it's been hit quite frequently, attempted to score in that corner quite frequently. But yeah, I mean the throw needs to be nice and touchy. It needs to have a good weight to it and not get not be blown away by the wind.
Absolutely, and it's in other conditions. It's stunning to think just how many of those attempts would have resulted in scores, but for whatever reason today in the Div 2 Ultimate Championships, it's not coming away. Shot goes high, nice and blustery, touched, brought down. Brisbanites are on the board. I think that was...
There was quite a few players under that, so it was a good job by the Brisbanite player to make sure that he took that disc down without causing any contact.
Davidson with the score there for the Brisbanites to not tie the game, but to bring it back within one. Whakatu and Franz WaF still ahead in this one, and they're going to start on offense. They have an opportunity here to widen that score.
We see this shot goes up, and it just gets bubbled by the wind. You see it get pushed up just there, out of view of the camera.
Great touch by Lovell, but not gonna be enough to secure the turnover, and Brisbanites able to capitalize. As Kelsey said a couple of times today, who's now joining us in the booth, mainly for the purpose of stat keeping. We're doing a great job of sharing the load, I think. Catch your Ds, team. And it can be tough, especially if the disc is a little high, you're trying to go a little early on defense. You want to just make sure that you're interfering, regardless of whether or not that's getting contact with the disc or throwing off the timing of the offense. Getting up and getting a touch, catching is always the best option. It's one of those heartbreaking moments. You give everything, you jump as high as you can, you touch the disc, and the opposition still get a score. It stings a little bit, but confident that WaF can come back from that. They can use that as a little bit of fire, a little bit of fuel for that motivation to keep them ahead in this game.
So we have Brisbanites putting up the pull, a spin pull, and looking to roll that disc, but it lands out, and that disc would have gone out quite a ways down the field. So that strategically trying to roll the pull seems to not have worked this time. They're going to need to adjust that, possibly pulling from further up the field. There's a bit of discussion about where it should be going in.
Well, the wind definitely took it, so it looks like they'll have plenty of time to have that discussion. As Joe Panaya takes the long trek out to collect the Freedom Frisbee.
Joe Panaya currently living in Wellington, having grown up and learned how to play Frisbee in Nelson. Interesting place to take the disc in. I think it went out a little earlier than that, but the players on the field are the ones who are going to make that decision. Sanders with the disc now, a long-time stalwart in the Frisbee community in Christchurch.
Can't hit the up line, goes for the inside break instead.
And we have Nelson kind of stuck on this low side now. Panaya being that release valve down the line.
Working back in with Sanders.
They're working pretty hard just to move it down the line again and again. They have the break throws, so hopefully they're able to use them. An unmarked Nelson player in the open side.
Yep. Reeves goes back to Sanders in the midfield. Sanders winds up the big shot, decides to holster, fakes the hammer again, signaling to Hippolyte for a reset option. It doesn't come.
So that was a late stall hammer from Sanders, and there's a little bit of chat in the field. I think it was potentially about the contact, but it is determined to not have affected that particular play. I like how patient, I say that as they shoot for the score, but it was a relatively patient point from WaF. They were able to move it back a little bit, swing it around, hold onto the disc when they needed to, and they're able to score. Panaya in the end zone.
Absolutely. I mean, even with Sanders getting pressured up to that high stall count, he never looked like he was particularly forced. That hammer came out a little bit of an atypical flight path for something like that, but he was clearly confident in throw, never seemed rattled, managed to connect with Reeves, who was able to find that nice open cut towards the end zone from Panaya for the score to widen the game up.
Quite a nice shot, actually, just out of reach of the defender, and it sat down into Panaya's hands despite the wind potentially trying to push it further right. We get to see that again now. It's hard to cover. He seems like he would be covered by the Brisbanite defender, but great shape on that throw.
Yeah, absolutely. It's those two components of a score. It's not just the cut for the disc, it's also the throw. And the shape of those two together coming together to give something the defense just doesn't have an answer to at the moment.
So the Brisbanites also joined us last year at Div2. So this is familiar territory for them. I imagine there's quite a few players who played on both teams, both years, I should say. They must have enjoyed themselves last time if they're going to come back again.
I mean, it's such a nice tournament, even with the weather doing what the weather does. Panaya puts up the pull.
And a low catch from Kirby.
Lil Wall pushing towards the far sideline, working with Montoya, who couldn't secure that one.
I don't think he expected that to come back to him so quickly.
It's interesting, as we start to see the changing face of Ultimate, we move towards a little bit more of a fluid kind of give-go. I heard you before described as kind of ticky-tack Ultimate, which is the style that, I as a relative new, late comer to the sport, that was how I was kind of initiated into it. So it's something that I love to see. I'm a huge fan of. A lot of people, particularly when you have people with longer pedigrees, really established careers in Ultimate, they tend to adhere to some of the more conventional offensive structures and I guess intentions and tactics behind those. And we see those structures, they're used for a reason. They work. They create a lot of space on the field for players to capitalize on, to leverage the athleticism, the speed, the power of some of these players, as well as creating large channels for them to throw into. But then when you get people who are maybe on the cusp of those who have a foot in both camps, it can be a little difficult to adjust. Are they going to be playing their conventional style, or should I be expecting this quick return? And that was able to generate a turn for WaF.
I think mostly what I would want to see from any team is them choosing a style that plays to their strengths. And so if you have players who can, and also that a style that is working against the opposition in terms of you can adapt to what the opposition is providing you. I think that's it's easy to say, hard to achieve.
Great work from WaF and some quarterbacking from Panaya, trying to, again, establish a nice vertical structure that gives them a lot of room to work through. Good touch from Brisbane.
That is the same connection that scored the first point, so it's good to see Brisbanites realizing that that's probably a strength, Panaya to McEwen, and in the same space on the field as well. Good to see that they covered it the second time. Nice cross-field shot, big gainer to Montoya. Montoya taking his time, he has plenty of time.
Now as the WaF defense starts to close the trap, the disc begins moving again. Lil Wall there, providing a great anchor for Brisbanites. It's Chris Brown with the disc now, threading a laser show straight through.
Trying to work in a tiny little amount of space there. Looking for someone just a couple meters away. Brisbanites really looking at the front of this end zone, not wanting to swing and use the sides or the back of the end zone. It's well covered by WaF. Some good switches there, and a good read by the Brisbanite player.
Great find there as well. A nice put, recognizing again as WaF didn't quite collapse their zone back into a match defense. They were still occupying a lot of space. They were closing off the front of the end zone. As you pointed out, Rachel, Brisbanites hesitant to swing backwards and forwards and use those front corners. Good find by Lil Wall to put one up and over the top to an unmarked Brisbanite receiver. That's Davidson again for the score. So 2 scores by Brisbanites, both going to number 14, Davidson. So if WaF wants to start shutting down that chance of a Brisbanite comeback, maybe he's the player they need to leave someone on, even in the context of his own. There's got to be a reason why he's been open twice.
Yeah, so you'd want that low side WaF player to be aware that if he's too far forward and he's not covering anyone, he needs to readjust his positioning. I mean, to be fair though, that shot to the back is less likely to come off from something else. So if you have to give something away, you know, and it was a good read into the sun by the Brisbanite player, so by Davidson. So potentially, if they're going to score, they might score. That's the way you want them to
absolutely.
score.
I mean, ultimately, it does come down to a game of percentages. If you, as the defense, have to choose between a throw that is a 90% chance of a completion if you don't interfere, and a throw that's a maybe 40% chance or 50% chance, even 60, without you interfering, you leave the lower percentage option available to them and hope that the natural error in their technique, in the ability to read and the communication, you hope that that makes up the shortfall.
We see a deep cut for Sanders, but he looks that off. Probably looking for a higher percentage throw.
Oh, can't get it to Reeves.
Reeves having a second opportunity to grab that, but unable to get there. Which gives, I think, is this the first break opportunity for WaF? I believe it is.
Oh, and what a beautiful touch.
A short-lived break opportunity there. I like how WaF is having they have these quick turns to offense.
Looking
and they
for Reeves. Oh, that happened. Just a reminder for the folks watching at home, Ultimate is a non-contact sport. There was definitely some contact there between Alice and Reeves. Not sure of the nature, not sure of exactly what happened. Looks like Reeves was maybe trying to course correct and get back in line to make a play at that disc, but definitely was not able to. And so as a result of that call, it's going to be an accepted foul, and it will play out as though Reeves had managed to catch the disc.
I like that from Brisbanites. They were pretty quick to accept that foul. I think it was,
absolutely. I think that was the right move. So again, for the folks watching at home who may not be familiar, Ultimate prioritizes something that we call spirit of the game. It's essentially a way of kind of codifying the idea of sportsmanship within the context of the sport that we've all come together to play here in Ōtautahi. Hippolyte with a big open forehand, but it doesn't peel back over the way that he wanted to. Maybe overcompensating for the wind, and then there was a little bit of a die down, or maybe not compensating quite enough. Who can say?
Brisbanites with the full field to work here now, coming in on the cone. They're setting up with quite a wide stack. They're isolating mostly just one player for their initial cut. It's shot down the line. The power position for the Brisbanite player, but no cuts no cuts for that power position.
Ellis works up the line.
Ellis looking for the swing now.
Receives it, center field, decides to go to the far sideline. One-handed take by Hess. Continues pushing towards, working into the wind. It's hard, but it gives them a lot more comfort on the near side, on the side of the line in the direction towards us here in the booth on the bottom of your screen. Ellis has it. Reeves getting hands, feet, everything he can in the way for the block.
Good dump coverage by number 16 on WaF. Face marking, but making it work. So 16 largely looking at his player rather than the disc. Oh, and out of the hands of Ellis. That just came in really fast, and I think you can't catch them all, unfortunately.
Penaya working with Hippolyte. The undercut covered. It's not going to be there as an option. Second one, the same. Oh, nearly manages to find it, putting it out into space enough to give number 16 an opportunity to read that and peel back in. It just did not come away. And in doing so, Brisbanites have the disc again around about the halfway mark.
Oh, Ellis has been receiving almost every other throw this point so far when they're on offense, but he's unable to catch that one. Big shot, another quick play on offense.
Oh, peels back, falls short. Reeves can't get there in time. Brisbanites with another crack at it.
WaF are putting the mahi in with these deep cuts, even though they don't have many players on their team for this tournament.
Hess. Laser show up the far sideline looking for Major. Ooh, 16 again gets in with another meaty block.
just by the fingertips there. He'll be pleased with that. He's been putting in a lot of work this month as well.
We've seen a couple of those from him, and especially clutch ones too, like in important moments. Hippolyte has it. Let's rip. Are we going to see a bookend? Is he long enough? Oh, he is. The cut maybe not have been.
God, he climbed a ladder for that.
Oh, yo.
16 wanting the disc back, but Panay taking the safe option.
Or Reeves not able to correct. A little bit of intra-team collision there.
Sanders trying to throw that into the tournament central tent. It was a close shot, but yeah, unfortunately, I think there were two WaF cutters in the same space that made it more difficult for each other.
So Brisbanites with an opportunity. We see a great initiation cut from Hess. Panaya with the steal. It's not going to happen. Goes around. Eaten up by Brisbanites on defense, walking back to the front of the end zone to initiate. Some really good movement from WaF on that one. Just waiting for them to figure out what that little tweak that needs to be to tighten those up, to maybe hit those connections. Oh!
Very decisive block there by Pay.
Yeah, you do, in fact, love to see it. Just in general, I mean, was that a foot block?
I think it was great.
I think it was.
Great anticipation by him. I think he barely moved. He knew
just a beautiful way to put that one. Sanders with a great cut. Looks like they're going to say that the first point of contact on securing the disc was in. That's the signal that we're seeing from WaF. Just, I guess, waiting on confirmation from Brisbanites, who may have a different opinion. Again, early stages in the game, it's only 3-2. It's not a bad one to let go necessarily, but by the same token, where players don't agree, it can often be the most spirited thing to just contest the call and let the disc go back to the last uncontested possession.
So we have Panaya and Sanders, who have played together for quite a while in Christchurch, getting to play together again now under the Nelson banner.
Looks like they're going to call that as a straddle instead. So Sanders will retain possession of the disc outside. Oh, and there's a saying in Ultimate, the disc doesn't lie, but there's a call.
I think there's a little bit of contact over the shoulder for 16. I can see what he might have felt, and it looks like it's a quickly accepted call.
It is great to see that the Brisbanites have accepted those calls when they've come through. They're quick to resolve and recognize their involvement in it. A nice little one shot straight through to Panaya for the score, and WaF are back up by 2.
It's nice to see that most of these calls are being resolved quickly. There can be culture differences between cities, between clubs, between countries, and so when you're playing a team from Australia, it might feel a little bit different. I mean, there's obviously no language barrier, but there is different practices, I guess. And we see that D from 16 from WaF there. Big point for him.
What a take that was. The timing on that, just beautiful to see.
And then most importantly, he doesn't throw it away afterwards.
Yeah.
Footblock here.
Been there.
Oh, no. Hopefully we get to see that footblock again by Pang.
Great steal.
And yep, look, he didn't even have his hands up. It's great anticipation by Pang.
Oh, somebody's going to go home and clip that one off YouTube, I bet. It's me who's going to do it. All right, WaF to come out on defense again. We're going to see the pull go up. Nice, big and long. A lot of float underneath it. Great opportunity for their defensive structure to get into a good position. Lil Wall for the Brisbanites, who's done a great job anchoring their offense. Just providing that same support, that same zone that we're seeing, but it's going to generate a turn. The windows are so small, and Panaya is there to close them. Reeves on a nice early reset. Center field goes back wide. Panaya with a great read to keep that one in hand. Pushed down to the far sideline. Marked front up, so they're allowing him to work back towards the center field. They just don't want him working along that sideline. It's good to see that players who display ability on either team are being respected by their opposition on the other side. If a player like Panaya does a great job of working up a sideline, then yeah, it makes sense for the defense to recognize that and stop him from doing it. Similarly, when you have players who make fantastic deep cuts and their defense starts playing deeper than them to give them less of an opportunity to use their top speed, we see the shot go up. Oh, and it's a slip that's going to give that turnover to the Brisbanites. Great read, good vision.
Probably would have had a good run at that if he had lost his footing. I also
Absolutely.
appreciated the Brisbanite player who was poaching off the deep a little bit, obviously trying to attempt that. Ooh, and unable to secure that. A quick turn back to WaF, so we'll see if they're looking deep again this time, as deep as you can shoot from this kind of position on the field.
Reeves and Panaya working hard in that handler space, providing a great core for WaF to orchestrate their defense, or their offense rather, around. Big shimmy, not going to be enough. The disc comes back, finds Chase.
Oh,
Laser show straight through for the WaF score.
Brisbanites had a little sniff at that, but it was not enough. Super close there, though. Nice find from Chase.
It's a great find. And we get to see that unfold again. That nice early reset.
He seemed to open on the around shot, but Chase waiting for the inside instead.
Oh, that's pretty.
Lots of appreciation in the booth here for that shot. Can't let Panaya have all the glory, can we?
No, of course not. I mean, hey, you got to give people their flowers. And that was just a fantastic put by number 33 for WaF, Chase, to widen up the score just that a little bit more. They're up by 3. Remember, folks at home, for our open division, to the best of our knowledge, these games are playing to 13. So slightly shorter games than those in our women's division, mainly because of the number of teams that we're trying to accommodate over this 2-day tournament here in Ōtautahi, Christchurch. We're going to see a timeout called. This would seem about sort of pretty typical. A 3-point swing would be about the time where you'd call your first timeout in a game?
Yeah, if you've gone down a couple of points, you might want to have enough time to collect your thoughts and talk to the team about what you want to do differently. I think it's been unfortunate for Brisbanites. They seem to be just having some easy off-the-hand drops. So it shows that they're in the right space and they're choosing the right options, but it's just they're just not getting enough momentum to be able to string a couple of those throws together. So it can be frustrating when you feel like you're not able to get into the game because you're turning it too quickly, even if you're getting it back again afterwards.
Absolutely. I mean, it can just be demoralizing as well. You might play really, really great defense, and then you get 1, 2, 3 passes and there's a turnover. Ah, dang it. Play great defense again, 1, 2 passes and a turnover. Ah, dang it. And I think we've mentioned in previous games, it's about the mindset. It can be just as valuable for a team to, rather than think about how to change the things that are going wrong, prioritize what's going right. Hey, our defense is getting turns. Taking that mindset back into offense, even if you do turn it over, hey, you know your defense can generate a turn. Making those little mental shifts can often be all it is. As you said, Rachel, it's just little things. Some drops, discs bouncing off the hands. The mental aspect of it might be enough to just tighten those things up and really keep Brisbanites in this game. We've seen the ability that they can display in terms of the athleticism, in terms of how much pressure they can put on defense. They can make some pretty solid plays. They can get their bodies into good positions. The pieces are all there.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of experience on the Brisbanites team too, so I imagine that they've got a great resilient mental game too. I mean, anything can happen with this kind of weather. I know we've been talking about it all day, but it just is very gusty today. You know, it's certainly brings a chill to the air as well.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, it's we've had some really long points in other games, points that if you end up winning it and coming out on top could feel like a really big mental success. You know, a mental victory, even if it is only a 1-point victory.
But, I mean, as has been one of the several themes for the day, quite often the important thing to take into any point is that it's a game to one. You just have to focus on each win as it comes. And as you say, yeah, being able to score that 1 point, even if it is just 1 point, especially if it's on the back of a lot of turnovers or a lot of defensive grind, being able to score that point, it means something. It carries weight. It adds a little bit of, it just adds something to the energy, the train, the momentum that you're bringing into the game.
We've had quite a long time out here, so hopefully we'll be starting the play again quickly. We have WaF ready with the disc. Hopefully they'll be signaling readiness soon. Timeout's not being very long. If we had our sideline whistleblowers to guide us as to how long it's meant to take, I'm sure people would be back on the field quicker. Big pull from Panaya. And it's floating towards the low side of the field, but stays in.
A great final position for that. Not quite enough for number 16 to get yet another block. But the pace is going to set things up, forcing a far sideline push that's going to get intercepted by Panaya. Looks like there was contact, or looks like there was definitely a foul. I'm seeing a foul signal from downfield.
So the players on the field using their hand signals. Perhaps it was a foul on Panaya running through some of the Brisbanites, or running next to the Brisbanites players. Or on Stern instead. There was a couple different matchups there.
Montoya and Stern seeming to be the leaders in this conversation. So a little unclear as to exactly what the nature was. We weren't able to quite pin it down from our replay. Are we seeing anything else?
I'm trying to spot the contact here. Maybe a little bit on Stern's back between Stern and Montoya, but interesting call. It's always different. You know, when you're on the field, you don't have the third eye perspective. If you feel some contact on your side or on your back, it's hard to tell from your own perspective what is absolutely correct.
And I think that they're taking the right approach here, which is, hey, if you felt contact, make the call, have the discussion. You can always retract a call if you need to. It's still a great display of spirit. The other team always appreciates it. If a call is made and then all of a sudden you have a change of heart, hang on, no, there wasn't a foul, that wouldn't have affected it. I wouldn't have had to play at the disc. Foul retracted. The other team, it's very rare that a team is going to feel some sort of way about a retracted foul.
Yeah, calls are tools for the players to use to help the game.
Help facilitate a smooth playing experience for everyone involved.
And
absolutely.
fair, smooth and fair, which is an obvious thing in hindsight, but a lot of players, I think, feel like making a call is a bad thing, but it's just a way to make the game work, really.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that a consistent approach to calling fouls actually demonstrates a lot of respect towards your opponent too.
So it looks like we have an accepted foul call between Stern and Montoya. Montoya has the disc now.
Finds Brown, comes back to Sorondo. Working back with Lil Wall. We've got Kirby available as a deep reset. Unmarked, decides to be used by Lil Wall. Working back, we're seeing that same kind of zony defense there. It's an arrow here that we're seeing here.
That reset is quite close, Kirby, at the reset there. I think it's because throws haven't been easy, so you don't want to be, even though if you were standing further away, you'd get potentially more ground gained. It's a harder throw in these conditions, and as we've seen them pop off the hands, I think it's good that they're keeping it close. And an easy shot by the looks of it.
Great take by Sorondo there on a nice push cut towards the far sideline to bring Brisbanites back within 2.
So the score now 5-3. Still a lot of game left. And hopefully a lot of game left in the players' legs as well.
It is the last point of the day. It's as important a game as any of the ones they've played so far. To the best of my knowledge, I think with the number of open division teams that we've got, 4 games today has taken them to the end of pool play, I believe, or possibly they may have one more pool game tomorrow morning to sort of decide our bracket positioning as we progress towards our semi-final and final matches. But every game is important for both these teams. But this is the last one for the day, and that has a little bit of special something in it. You know you've got a long rest, a decent meal after this, a good hot shower, a nice sleep between this and your next game. And so you can spend a little bit more than you might earlier on in the early stages of the day.
So Brisbanites, an opportunity here to come out in defense. We'll be interested to see what they throw. We've been seeing mostly match from them, pretty much.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of zone from WaF, and also quite a lot of other teams throughout the course of the day, mainly because of the wind. Brisbanites, I think, maybe favouring some of their one-on-one matchups, recognising that they've come across with athleticism. They've come across with some oomph and some gumption and some zim.
Nice roller pull that is stopped by one of the players on WaF. So we have match again.
Hippolyte goes through to Reeves. Big shot goes up. It's peeling early, but Panaya can get it.
What a bid from Panaya. So safe. Look at those hands. And open up that cut. That good clearing by the other WaF players to allow number 16 to get that. What a bid by Panaya. Let's see if we get to see that one again.
A nice clean hold as well. I think there was only three passes throughout the course of that.
Yeah, they had a...
Always on the move.
So it's interesting to see that they pulled that off. So that brings the score to 6-3 to WaF. So a comfortable lead. So yeah, we see a lot of people turning around, maybe perhaps knowing that Reeves likes to throw it long. Panaya was cutting from the handler space, which is a great grab. Didn't get the best angle of that from the camera, but really putting his body on the line here.
Yeah, 3 passes, Hippolyte to Reeves to Panaya, and then the score. Nice and efficient work from WaF. And as you said, it's now 6-3. If the game is being played to 7, as I suspect it is, a break here from WaF is going to be enough to conclude the first half of the game. Brisbanites cannot afford to let that one slip.
If we see more cuts from the handler space and then into the deep space, I'd want the Brisbanites to start looking at switching up and recognizing that the last back needs to keep an eye out for that, especially if it works a couple times and WaF wants to use it again. It's going to be a good tool for the Brisbanites to use. We see the zone again. It seems like they 1 person on the mark, 3 in the wall. The wall is nice and tight, allowing the pops, and you need the wings to stop that middle shot just there. You need the wings to be on a player rather than just in the area.
Kirby goes back to Lil Wall to work around that zone. I think you're exactly right. It isn't just about those sort of 1-2s through the middle of the zone. You've got to think about an overall offensive sequence. What's happening in the deep space? Where are players making cuts into the zone? There's the continuation to find Brown. But again, a little too patient, having to go back as the zone closes that gap. Now where's the option for Brown? You can see Kirby on the near sideline. There's one more continuation there, but Panaya closes the gap. It doesn't matter, off the back of Panaya's outside shoulder.
I like
we
that
see
from the
Burnside
Brisbanites.
cutting through for the score.
They had 2 or 3 open players on this low side of the field pretty much the entire point, and it was they did a good job of utilizing them when they needed to.
When it was the right time,
and
absolutely.
Also breaking back across the field too, but you can't quite see them off screen here, but there's one with the disc, 2, 3 other players down the sideline that are pretty open. I mean, there's the defender's close in the area, but the defender is marking multiple players, so they have to make a choice at that stage.
Yeah, it's a tough choice, and I think really patient work by the handlers. As you pointed out, they were using those near side players very, very sparsely, and I think the key there is recognizing that the dominant wind direction throughout the course of the day has been from the top of your screen down towards the bottom, or from the far side towards the near side of the screen. If they'd used those players a little bit more extensively, they might have found themselves pinned down, and any breakthroughs, any opportunities to evade the defense, especially as we're seeing that WaF zone, having to throw into the wind to get around it, and that's going to create opportunities for those mid players. I mean, we've seen Reeves, we've seen Panaya, and possibly even Sanders, who was parked up in the deep space, to make a closing play and generate the turnover.
Yeah, absolutely, especially players who have that fast closing speed, like Panaya, that we know. He's he's in the area, but he's almost tempting that. He wants it to go up so that he can chase that run through D.
Something that I've always tried to think about whenever I'm playing, whenever I'm commentating or watching the sport, is thinking about trying to understand how large a player's sphere of influence is, how far away from a defensive player they can be while still being able to make an impactful move when the time is right. Players like Joseph Panaya and a lot of players that we're going to see in next week's Division 1 championships are going to have pretty large spheres of influence, a big foot block.
There was a deep cutter, and the WaF player couldn't resist the look of that deep cut, and unfortunately his mark had a foot in the way.
Oof.
An excellent foot block there by the Brisbanite player. The disc looking to be checked out right now. Hopefully it's in one flat piece rather than a bent piece. Down the line shot into the ground, so unfortunately not utilizing that foot block. Maybe they're trying to get another one.
At that point, you're just padding the stat sheet, really. Goes around, find Reeves, a little bit of air bounce, finds Panaya working in the midfield, still very close to the far sideline. Continues to drive up that sideline. I mean, we mentioned before just about his ability to put those line drives up and how the defense was responding. We're seeing maybe a little bit of slackening in the defensive pressure. Big hammer goes up. Comes down.
What a fun choice that was.
Yeah, I could not have said it better myself. What a fun choice that was.
Looks like there's a little, potentially an injury sub there. One of the Brisbanite players subbing off. No subs from WaF, and play is going to continue now. But no, I mean, big hammers are fun to watch. And Panaya was in the area. I think if it was just adjusted a little bit to the wind.
I think, yeah, I think it's about the wind, right? So that right-handed hammer is going to show the underside or the cup face of the disc towards the wind, which is going to not allow it to turn over the way you'd expect it to, which generally gives a little bit more float. Maybe that extra little bit of float would have been enough for Panaya to close in and pull down that score.
So we're
Montoya now.
It looks like switchy match now. Nelson, WaF have been doing a good job of being efficient with their switches, and there seems like they're focusing a lot on these unders basically, which makes sense. There hasn't been a huge amount of big, like, long ball from this part of the field yet, so trying to shut down those unders is a effective way to stall Brisbanites.
But it's not stalling them enough. They're making their way through the field. They're chipping away at it meter by meter, pass by pass. We're seeing Hess get involved. A lot of their downfielders making aggressive undercuts back into the handler space to cycle back through.
Great take by Kirby there.
A little bit on the high side. Oh!
Good backup there. Number 6 with the Seagull pickup.
Great steal there. Beautiful work, but possibly a touch. Yeah, I think so. Reeves managing to push that one out of bounds, and so Whakatu and friends WaF to bring the disc in on that far sideline. Once again, Joe Panaya initiating. Seeing Chase come in nice and close. Long shot goes up. Touch by Montoya is going to give it back to the Brisbanites.
I'd want to see some more active cutting by the other people in the stack, so that way Montoya didn't have the opportunity for that poach.
That is, I think that's a great point, right? When you've got all of your players in the downfield, you've got your 2 key handlers working in the upfield space, the other 5 in a vertical stack in the middle of the field, and when you have one cut that goes nice and aggressive and everyone else is static, it does give the defensive players an opportunity to peel off, to recognize that it is a threat. Maybe an undercut, not even necessarily from Montoya's his mark, but just something to draw the attention in and open up that channel a bit more.
But it's good. I mean, Brisbanites have adapted. We were talking about having that last back be more field aware, and that's what they did. Oh, and
stolen by McEwen.
A lesson in why you have to attack the disc.
Oh, looks like there might be an injury in the downfield. Oh,
might have been a little bit of contact, but it seems like there was a pick call. So the disc is going to stay with Panaya by the looks of it, and the players are going to adjust their positioning so that anyone who is disadvantaged by the pick can then be in the right position.
So just an opportunity to regain distance from their defense that they shouldn't have lost. had the pick not occurred. So the disc checks in. Panaya ready to go, marked by Ellis. Goes up and around, find Reeves, who's done some fantastic work in the handler space for WaF. Little inside thread, goes to Chase on a nice quick give and go, but it's not going to come. The second option isn't there.
This is hammer territory. Someone in this close side corner.
Oh.
See, if they'd thrown a hammer.
Hey, it's a fun choice.
We'll have to remind them of that at halftime. So Brisbanites, full field to work here.
Montoya on a great undercut. We're seeing Hess pushing deep, but it's not going to come just yet, even though the open channel right in front of the thrower, wide and unmarked. So I think the big priority with a lot of the upfield WaF defense is to stop the around throw, to stop the break throw. So they're trying to minimize the damage that they can do, but if they're too open with it, it doesn't actually take that much away.
WaF are getting a little bit out of position on their defense. They're not holding the force as consistently as they have been previously, so I hope that they try and kind of basically get back onto holding that force, because that's how the Brisbanites are breaking through this quite with so many throws.
Montoya
Brisbanites being pushed back. Yeah.
Montoya doing a huge amount of work here for the Brisbanites, really being the guy that they're playing around and through to keep a lot of that movement going.
Ooh, and there's a little bit of contact in the stack. It seemed like it was pretty accidental, but contact nonetheless.
Yeah, looks like there was a pick first and then a recognition. Hang on, it's not a pick. I'm actually being contacted by my defense. And so a nice little conversation there.
Between, I think it's Kirby and McEwen. So, seems like the two players are mostly the ones who are talking about it. If the call goes on for too long, you'd want to be looking at other opinions potentially. Also, it's been a little bit of a longer point compared to the other points. Perhaps people just want to have a chance to get the breath back.
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, I have seen that before. It's the old, especially when the disc gets slightly overthrown, you'll see, or someone might come down after a foul and they spend a little bit of time on the ground. They're like, I'm not injured. I'm tired.
Of course, we would never do that.
No, I wouldn't do. No, I wouldn't do that.
Lots of jinking in the end zone here.
Hess manages to offload the reset, losing yards, decides for a nice near side front cone cut, can't make it. Big touch by 16 for WaF to shut down Montoya's attempt to close out that point.
Good pursuit by 16 there. There've been a lot of jink cuts that he'd had to cover in the end zone, and manages to keep that D clean. So good switches now from Brisbanites. You hear them chatting on the field from the sideline.
I mean, it's what you wanted to see. I mean, you were talking predominantly about the deeper defensive players, but I think just in general, Brisbanites being a little bit more heads up, a little bit more switched on, making those switches when they recognize it can be a really great play, particularly when you've got agile and active handlers. Good touch by Chase for the block.
Oh, I think that was Montoya for the block.
I take that back, actually. Yeah, WaF are heading back the other way.
I think Chase, if he'd attacked that a bit quicker, I don't think he knew that there was someone coming up behind him for that second bit on the disc.
That's
but
it.
Great D by
Hess with a shot, reeled in.
By
Kirby's
Kirby.
got it.
Kirby,
Montoya sealed off.
Good cover by Chase to make sure he's taking the. He pulled off to cover the open player in the end zone, but it wasn't enough. We have Gary to score.
Great take there by Brisbanites to slowly close the gap. It's now 6-4. Again, still thinking that we're looking at a first half to 7.
6-5. So
6-5.
So it's brought it within 1.
Whew.
So hopefully,
that's tough, yeah.
So Brisbanites bringing a little bit of fire, bit of pep.
It's great to see. I mean, they're tightening the game. It was very, very WaF dominant in the very first stages of the first half. To see how Brisbanites have kind of fired back a little bit, keeping it nice and close.
So hopefully, WaF are able to respond in kind and keep, we like a close game. It's always exciting. We want these teams battling it out for the crowds.
Yeah, I mean, for those of us here in the booth, for those folks watching at home, it's exactly it. We want to see a close game. We want to see evenly matched ultimate. I mean, that's what Division 2 should really be all about. It's the teams who are coming together with goals of growth as much as victory, goals of development, of change, of improvement. And so much as steel sharpens steel, we need those teams to be evenly matched to get the absolute best out of the ultimate, to ensure the development of our communities in New Zealand and also in Australia.
That disc floating out on this low sideline, as it has so frequently today.
Kanaya giving the signal for the brick to bring back the disc within about, in the midfield, about 18 metres in front of the defensive end zone, supported by Hippolyte and Sanders. So we're seeing a horizontal stack from them now, hoping to create a channel of space close to the handlers and also using as much of that deep space as possible for them.
And we
general some nice short underpasses possibly.
Got a zone here from bid by Sanders, but kind of like missed his hand a little bit there.
Yeah.
That was an effective zone by the Brisbanites.
Absolutely. I mean, it didn't look like they were double teaming. They weren't too close, but almost forming a bit of a cage around Panaya. So as soon as he turns around to look at where he thinks there's no mark, surprise, there's Montoya.
We see the sideline being cleared. People obviously getting quite close to the field with their gear.
Sarando pushes through, can't connect with Avila. It's going to go back to WaF. They need this one now. They're a little bit further back than where they started from that brick mark. Have changed things up a little bit. They've gone back to 2 handlers. Big shot looking up. Can Sanders get the read? Of course he can. He's been reading for years. Avila on the mark, can't stop the reset to Hippolyte. Sanders available as an option, but again, it's still on that low side. So much as you were saying before, Rachel, about how Brisbanites were sparingly using their players on the near sideline, we're seeing the same thing. Montoya with a great close to shut that one down.
Yeah, the Brisbanites have been really stepping up their attack on floaty discs. It's good to see, and that's a little bit too far from Montoya. But I'd like to see the same attack on these floaty discs from WaF. I don't want them resting on their laurels here.
Especially when there's only a 1-point lead. They can't really afford to rest on anything. Hippolyte has the disc now, trying to work around Avila. We also see Montoya supporting in that zone, comes to the near sideline with Sanders.
Everyone on the WaF, they're spreading out a bit now, but previously they were all kind of in this half or this third of the field. So it's good to see them adjusting their offensive structure and spreading out a little bit. That was very casual.
No Callahan just yet. The disc is going to go back to Sanders. I'm not sure whether or not there was a stall count there or possibly contact on the throw. So it'll be between them. So it looks like there's the bump of fists. Might be a contested call.
Seems like we need to teach these players their hand signals.
Honestly, favorite job on the ultimate pitch on the sideline, echoing hand signals.
Just want to be involved, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You just want to feel like you're a part of it. Okay,
So,
looks like that could be considered a completion. Panaya will retain possession of the disc.
it is a retracted stall call.
See, we'd know that if they used their hand signals.
So Panaya in his own end zone, but he's a very put together player. I'm sure he was not worried by this at all. Lots of composure from him.
Absolutely. Despite the pressure that we're seeing from Brisbanites, and this is where they really want to pour on the pressure. They just want a fingernail of a mistake to be able to capitalize and pull away a Callahan, just to swing the momentum so heavily in their direction. Sanders, hammer shot goes up. It's fading back. Davidson.
And an attempt on a D by Stern, and no call made. That was
no strip. They're calling that one clean.
Brisbanites are really front-loading this, or had been front-loading this, and forcing the disc wide. Now, WaF haven't been throwing it wide. What they're being given is the swing and then down the line, but they haven't been able to string that together yet.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit more sort of short 1-2 back and forth across the middle of the field and then punching through the zone or trying to. Cutting for it, little low. Reeves, audible groan of frustration on that one. It's the emotion, folks. That's why we love the sport. It's those little things.
It's so tough when you put in the mahi to get the, get the points buffer, and then you feel it slipping away in your, between your, slipping like sand through your hands.
Absolutely. And again, working hard on defense. You get the turn. 1-2 passes. Oh, dang it.
Seems like it might have been a travel call.
So we're going to see the hand signals that time from Brown. The rolling fists over the top, signifying that it was a travel. So players needing to establish a pivot foot, not dissimilar from netball, although the key difference with regards to something like netball is players' first point of contact dictates their pivot. In Ultimate, players who receive the disc and come to a complete stop can then choose which foot they use as their pivot point. Nice low release with a little bit of air bounce. Brown right on the doorstep. Hippolyte closing that front corner. It's low.
Whoa,
but it's good.
That was an excellent grab by the Brisbanites player. I don't really low to the ground. Good.
Honestly, if these fields were any less immaculately maintained, there would have been a single stray blade of grass between his hands and the disc, but it looks like that score is going to stand. It is going to go to what we refer to as a galaxy point. So with halftime being taken at 7, both of these teams on 6. The next player to score secures the first half. The nation holds its breath.
Both nations.
Both nations. Do you mean North New Zealand?
Yes, North New Zealand and the mainland.
Yeah, yeah.
So Brisbanites showing that they've got some grit, responding in kind to WaF.
And it's fantastic to see. I mean, the early stages of this game where WaF were up by 2 and it didn't look like Brisbanites had much of an answer, it was looking a little one-sided. Seeing how the rest of this half has played out has been fantastic to see. Brisbanites really gearing together. I know they came in, as you mentioned earlier, that their last game they finished on Universe Point. The games ran a little on the long side, and so they didn't have a great turnaround before coming back onto our stream match, so we're on a little bit of a delay. It could be that it just took them a while to kind of readjust. Going from working hard and then stopping can take a little while to get that engine running again, but they are definitely up to full speed as we are 6-6.
And I imagine as well the shorter roster for WaF, maybe that's part of why they haven't been able to respond to what Brisbanites are bringing. Having so few players really makes it taxing.
Yeah, a short candle's going to burn bright for at least a little while. We have Panaya with the disc working with Chase. We're seeing a zone now from Brisbanites.
Same kind of a 2-3 zone, so 2 people up the front.
And then a wall of 3 behind to stop anything develop in the midfield space. Goes up over the top to Chase in a momentary lack of wind. Great find. Back to number 16, pop pass around to Panaya.
I do like how Montoya seems to be prioritizing covering Panaya. Good recognition by Brisbanites to know what one of the big threats on the WaF team and trying to prioritize marking him.
Nice give go that it takes him a little too long to stop. Comes back around. Chase there is an option. 16 on a nice quick. Another trying to keep that momentum going. Chase maybe had an opportunity to push with and steal some extra yards. Decides instead to park out on the near sideline. A tumble, but it's good.
Great hands
no
by
call.
16.
Brisbanites caught a little bit on the back foot expecting a call, but there wasn't one. We continue playing. Chase finds Panaya. The momentum swinging towards the far sideline. Goes up, finds an open Chase here. One hand touch and a knee slide is not going to be enough for Werner to get that one for WaF.
You saw that patience run out on WaF's side.
Oh, yeah.
They were doing such a good job and then got a bit greedy.
Hess marked by 16 near sideline.
Hess looking around now.
Great cover by Panaya, able to ease off the pressure and conserve some energy once he recognizes that Hess was looking away from his mark. Looking back towards the upfield space. Snappy little shot. Hess with the big dive. Puts a shot up. It's bleeding over early. Chase is the one underneath it.
Yeah, that came down really fast. The angle on that disc didn't really give the deep receiver a chance.
No, but some nice quick 1-2s to start things early. Keep the Brisbanites on the back foot. It's what WaF need. Nice little lefty backhand over the top from Panaya to find 16. Working hard, big fakes, trying to move the defense, trying to use the bodies as well as the legs to get things to open up.
Both teams may be realizing that they get a break after this point, so making sure that they're able to run hard.
Werner back to Panaya.
Beautiful shot, by the way. From
Absolute great find on that, pushing towards that near sideline. Chase, Pung, back around, finds 16. Panaya's there. That's going to be half time for WaF. Whakatu and friends to go up by 1 at a crucial moment in the game. The score is now 7-6. We are going to take a short break to allow these teams to perform a little bit of triage. Rest, recover, rehydrate. Should be a great time for you folks watching at home. Go make yourself a cup of tea, but rush back because the second half of the last game of our stream coverage for the 2025 Division 2 New Zealand Ultimate Championships in ULTI.TV Christchurch is going to be back on your screens in just a moment. My name is Blair Monroe.
My name is Rachel Siahani Royal.
We'll be back very soon. Kia ora te whānau. Welcome back to the second half of the final game of our stream coverage for the 2025 Division 2 Ultimate Championships here in ULTI.TV, Christchurch. We're in Hagley Park on Bob Dean's Field. I'm joined by the wonderful, the impeccable Rachel Sihani Royal. My name is Blair Monroe. We have a phenomenal second half ahead of you. Rachel, how are you finding this game so far?
Oh, it's certainly exciting. I think there's an element of last game of the day legs from both teams. There's been a few wonky choices and decisions, and maybe people aren't chasing down the disc quite as hard as they were earlier, but still a lot of heart and a lot of grit and a lot of effort being put in. I'm not trying to say anyone isn't working hard.
But it's a different kind of work. It becomes a little bit more of that mental game. Hey, where do I want to spend my energy on this point? Can I set myself up for success? We're not going to be able to see that completion there, and it's Brisbanites with an opportunity here. They started the game on offense. They are starting this half on defense. They are 1 point behind. That turnover is crucial for them to keep them in the game.
Very open side under there.
Brown finds Burnside. Can't hit the upline, decides to come crossfield, finds Lil Wall right on the doorstep. He's got a variety of throws. We've seen him put on a great performance today. Decides instead to go back, gets the continuation from Kirby on the far side. Great work to move that disc around to open things up, changing the angle of attack for the offense. Kirby again gets a bite out of Navarre on defense.
I like that from Lil Wall not up. Ooh, Sanders sticking an arm in there for the D, but I was going to say Lil Wall not being tempted by big shot from Panaya. Sanders adjusting to the throw.
What a great reception just outside of the end zone. Does he have an opportunity?
I feel like...
Oh, tried to tip that one in. Oh.
That was a beautiful throw by Panaya. He's really making it easy on Sanders to receive that. And this closing speed here from the Brisbanites player, 99.
I think that was Kirby who ran through on that one. Great work.
Sweet D on that. Not giving up to the bitter end on that D.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? As long as the disc has not been caught, it's viable. And so we're going to see Lil Wall with it now marked by Sanders.
Oh, and it's a high disc.
Intercepted, stolen by 25.
It's a short field, and Nelson WaF is able to put that into Chase there.
Great score by Chase. Great assist by 25, which apparently, and this is not a goof 'em up, this is a serious statement, 25, the number of years in Dave Sanders' ultimate career. There are players at this tournament who have not been alive longer than Dave Sanders has had control of a disc or running his patented circle cut around our mixed division competitors, particularly from those in the South Islands. Just a huge stretch of history, huge era of New Zealand Ultimate here on display in Bob Dean's Field. But that is the score that WaF needed. It puts them back up by 2 now. So Brisbanites weren't able to get that conversion that they needed to tie the game. There's a little bit of a gap now, playing to 15. WaF to come out on defense. Panaya with the disc to start us off with the pull.
By my count, that makes WaF up by only 1 break. So even though it's a 2-point golf, when you boil it down to, Brisbanites just need to get another break back and then keep their holds. It feels like a very, very, very achievable.
Absolutely, and they've demonstrated that they can do it. I mean, we had Kirby on that run through just as Sanders tried to pop that one in for the score just only a few moments ago. We had them generating a turn earlier on, like just a couple of passes into the possession to get the defense back. They have the ability to generate those turns. They can pour on that pressure on defense, and then it's a question of, right, what do we do now?
So we hopefully might be seeing that zone again from WaF. We know they've been favoring that, and Brisbanites just tipping that out of the field. So they'll be starting on the sideline here. We've got Ellis with the disc looking over the top.
Beautiful high release flick there to break over that zone.
So these front 4 players from WaF are making a little arrowhead with a fourth player back in what I would call the heart position, trying to stop the over-the-top stuff. And good patience by Brisbanites, not being tempted into throwing over the top. That's the kind of moment where you want to break through. But I think a travel might have been called on Montoya.
Yeah, it's one of those things where that patience makes all the difference. Too much haste, you start trying to throw things with lower percentages because you're trying to build a bit of momentum, and that's where those errors creep in, that's where those turnovers happen. Now, just a moment ago, you may have heard a hooter, which signifies that we've hit the soft cap, so 75 minutes of game time has elapsed. What we will then do is play out this point, and then whatever the highest score is, we will add 1 to that number, and then it is a straight race. So good take there by Brisbanites.
This half is going to be potentially a lot shorter than the first half as a result. These 75-minute games can kind of disappear really quickly.
Absolutely. Gary pushing towards far sideline.
And also, WaF being up a break in 2 points means that if they're playing this containment zone where they're pushing these players back and keep taking up a lot of time, it's a good thing because they're in the lead. All they need to do is hold their offensive points, and they can see this game out now that we've hit the cap. So trying to almost take up time is not a bad strategy, I think, in this case.
Absolutely. I mean, and the longer they can force the Brisbanites to play, the more energy they can force them to expend, the more energy they're going to get. But it's not going to be enough this time. We see Ellis parked up deep. It was just one break throw necessary to get through that zone. One long shot found by Major on that far sideline. Then a quick, nice continuation. Defense was a little slow to respond, and I think also they were maybe a little bit overcommitted into the, because you mentioned how they had a really front-forward zone. Both teams have been playing a really front-forward zone.
Well, I was just thinking that the deep, I think the deep obviously thinks that they have a bid on this long shot here, and then leaves another player completely open in the end zone. So perhaps being a bit more conservative about what they're covering. We see 55 Reeves coming up to try and mark that throw, but that's not the dangerous throw.
No, the dangerous throw was the one from 17 through to Ellis. And so, now it's 8-7. We are in a straight race to 9. I loved your insight on that last point. It's recognizing when the defense wants to commit. Something that I always try and keep in mind. A person with the disc cannot score a point. They can throw an assist, but it's the downfielders. It's the one who's a little bit deeper, the one who's already in the zone. They're the real threat. And as nice as it can be to make a big play, get a big block, sometimes it's a matter of just, hey, sit back. I don't need to get it here. I have to stop it here. And all I have to do is delay it long enough for the rest of my team to get into a position that we can really pull that defense back on. And
potentially that deep player, instead of coming under, should have been calling the wing back instead. The deep has got the best perspective of the field, and they want to be able to direct the other people in the zone as to where is most advantageous to be playing.
Reeves and Panaya hoping to put this point and this game away. Sanders through the middle. Quick one shot to Hawley. Back across to Panaya, signaling for something long.
Oh, Hawley really, number 25, wanted that deep cut, but Panaya just being a bit more patient with it. We see Reeves doing a little 7 cut, what we like to call, looking over his right shoulder for the disc there.
Hawley with the disc now signaling out, deciding to go back center field, finding Panaya. Montoya aggressive, assassinating that defense, trying to stop that one option. As we see the rest of the Brisbanites playing a nice, smooth zone. Sanders has it, Panaya pushing into the deep space. Not enough pressure to force Sanders to make a move. He winds up the hammer. He was thinking about it, decides to holster instead. Hawley's there, decides instead to go Reeves.
This could be the final point of the game if WaF can hold this offensive point for them. So hopefully that's not going to get into their heads, though. You don't want to feel like you have to score.
Absolutely. It's just passing. One pass at a time. If we can complete those passes. But we can't. Right on the edge, right on the sideline. A little bit too much fade towards the sideline. Sanders goes to jump for it. Can't quite get hands around. Punches it. Well out of bounds.
You got to make the bid, though. You got to make the bid.
You do. Leaving that one alone would have been just as I guess, criminal a consequence.
Still, this low side corner is tough to get out of. So WaF, if they put in a bit of concerted effort right now to get a turn, it's going to be a lot easier on them in the long run of this point.
Burnside doing a great work in terms of cutting shut down by 25. It's Chris Brown marked by Hippolyte. Sanders poaching in the open lane. It manages to get an inside break away to Montoya. Sanders back on defense. The bobble. Big touches by Chase.
Oof.
Looks like he was swatting flies there for a second.
Wow, that was... I think it was a second and third chance at that. But
that was dynamic. It was explosive.
just kind of mind of its own, really.
It was controversial. It gets the people going. Panaya, lots of little fakes, all getting bites out of Montoya, just reacting enough. There's Sanders there, wants to put it to 25, decides not to, looks back.
We know Sanders loves a hammer, so I was half expecting to see that.
Panaya with the pull down. One-handed take to seal the game up and put it away.
Panaya floats up for that grab.
Oh, my goodness, the hang time as well. So graceful, so refined, under pressure as well. Hopefully we're going to get to see that one again. That is going to bring us to the end of our first day of tournament, folks. WaF from Nelson, Whakatu and friends up by 2 over Brisbanites, 9-7 to secure the win. What a phenomenal performance by both of those teams. Could not be happier to be your eyes and ears on the ground and provide you context and commentary for this exciting match. But until next time, team, my name is Blair Monroe.
My name is Rachel Sia Honeyroyal.
This is the 2025 Division 2 New Zealand Ultimate Championships, proudly supported by the team here at ULTI.TV. It's our pleasure and privilege to bring this sport to your screens. Please join us again tomorrow as we move out of pool play into the brackets for the Open and Women's Division, and eventually we will take you to the finals with us. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.
Ka kite ano.
ULTI.TV.
Ready!